All right. We are live. So, let's see here. Yeah, all right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Satisfactory. It has been a little bit since we have had like regular streams, but we should be back to normal now, so that's nice. So, we are doing thermal propulsion rockets, and it has been a fair amount of time, and I don't fully know what was going on previously, but I'm sure I can figure it out. We've got nitrogen gas there, we've got our aluminum there, and we've got our oil there, and I think we had brought all of this down to the factory level. Yes, we had. Alright, so let's get down here. And, okay, we didn't end up ramming face first into the pavement. We did get into power range and stop our fall. Cool. Alright, so here we've got aluminum, making some aluminum rods. We've got aluminum making some steel beams. And we've got aluminum making some aluminum casings. Alright, then over here we have what looks like all clad sheets. So this is all just like base level aluminum processing, it looks like. Cool. Alright, so let's figure out what the next step is off of that. I'm looking at my notes here. Oh, I can remove the Fixmas notes from there now, because we don't need those anymore. Alright. So it looks like one thing we're going to be doing is steel beams into encased industrial beams and steel screws. So we are going to need to bring up 200 concrete. And I believe we had all of that stuff over here. Yes. Alright, so we have all this. That looks suspicious. Is that supposed to be as slow as it is? Let's drop down and investigate. That's this, right? And these all look like they're 100% nice and easy, so I guess that is correct. Who knows, though? Assuming that splitting is correct, it should be fine. Anyways. We're doing concrete, so we need to split the concrete into 200 and a batch of 73 point something. So let's just get the batch of 200. And it's going to go with the steel beams, which are over there. So it can just do that. Okay, that is just the ACU stuff, right? Yeah, that's fine. Alright, so we need to get the concrete out of this. And we need it to go like all the way over here. Let's actually build the factories and then see what happens. Also, I see yellow. So do we not have enough aluminum? Yes, that is indeed what's happening here. So this whole thing is looking like 80-something%. And this is the casings. So did I just mess up how fast a belt had to be, or do we actually not have enough aluminum? Let's see here. where is all this? Aluminum ingots, aluminum beams, all clad sheets, aluminum casings. We need to send 750 over to this row alone, which is just one of these. Alright, we might need a buffer of some kind for that, because this should be 780 and it should be enough, but it might be disrupted too much by the train unloading. Let's actually see if that is something that we can spot. Just hover right back up. Alright, up we go. Gosh, I always forget how long these vertical journeys are until I have to actually do them. Alright, up we go. Alright, aluminum. How are you doing? You look like you're just about emptying this train. And it's going into 2 belts. Alright, but we do have tons of spare, right, in all of those. So it should be fine. Because, yeah, we should be fine here. It looks good. Unless this train like just showed up seconds ago and that's why it looks fine, but this wouldn't be more than 4 rows if that were the case. And this one is completely filled still. Alright, how much is left in that? And how much is in that? Alright. It should be going there in a bit, I think. So yeah, I think we probably just need a buffer. Just some boxes to put this in. Because that will prevent it from doing weird stuff. So let's go down and do that. It looks like it should be good. So yeah, what's happening is when the train causes the unloading to stop temporarily for a given train station, that could cause disruption. So let's get these in, because neither of those are going at a full 780. So if we just... we're going to have to take this apart temporarily. And you go in there. And then these ones go to there and to there. Alright, so now these should be taking out less than 780. These should be putting in 780 exactly. And we should have room for the boxes to fill. Like that one's already starting a little bit because these are just all speed limited. And then this one is going to have a ways to go, but should get there eventually. Alright, so that was a bit of a distraction, but we should be clear now. This is just from when I took the aluminum out to put the boxes in. That's not a concern. So yeah, now this one is even filling up a little bit, which should be all clear. I don't know why this one in particular takes so much longer, but Probably just some weird thing to do with belt speeds. Alright. So, our encased industrial beams. We've got our steel beams here, and we just need to make some assemblers for them. So let's grab some space back here and put them in this area. We might run into space concerns with the other outputs here of the aluminum, but we can deal with that once we get to it. Alright, so we go down here and we get something. And we need at least 6, so these batches of 3 will work just fine. And we're just going to have 2 of these in. So let's line this up with the grid. Let's see, that looks centered-ish. I guess I'll move it over 1 foundation. Alright, so then we have that. And I shouldn't have removed that from my hotbar. What was that? It was this, I think. Oh. Get power, please. Blueprint, auto connect mode. And in there. Alright, now let's power this up. Bring it all the way back to you. And get you powered up. And so now these get to be set to encased industrial beams. Encased industrial beams, just base recipe. And this is 33.333 divided by 6, which is 5.5. Let's jam a couple extra 5s in there to make sure that the ratio is exactly correct. And then we paste our settings across. Alright. So that should be good. Now we just have to put the splitters in. So how much is this actually? It's quite a lot of steel and concrete. 100 steel, 200 concrete. So the steel is going to be, that's going to be 50. So that those could be Mark 1s as long as they're doing steel. And then the concrete are going to need faster belts. Alright, so then that is a Mark II, and there we go. So then this one gets a splitter, like so. Now these need to be Mark II for the concrete, because there's a lot of it. Alright, so now we just have that, and that's the steel, this is the concrete. Alright, so then we just grab our steel, it comes around this way, and in. There's no need to set that going just yet, because we need to get the concrete all the way over. So we take this belt, and now we just need you to run, gosh, where do we want you to go? I guess around the outside for organization's sake. It's going to cause some things to be mildly more inconvenient in the future, namely getting these casings out, but it'll be fine. I don't like building stuff straight through factories that I've already made. So we're going to go around. Alright, so this just keeps going. And this concrete belt is going to be a bit of a mess. It really was not designed with the intent of being able to get from there to here very easily. But we should be able to manage. So you take a corner and keep going. And keep going. And then the concrete is annoyingly all the way over there. Alright, there's nothing I can really do about that aside from have you go up and over like that. Alright, but we can't actually have this, so this is actually wrong. So dismantle that, because we need 200, because that's 273 technically. So this all needs to be Mark 4 up till the point where we do the split, which can be here. So 200 is 120 plus 60 plus 20 is, I think, the easiest way to do it. Did my spacebar just die? Did my... Okay, no, there's a wall on top of me. Okay, that was mildly terrifying. Can't play a game without a spacebar. Alright, so we get a smart splitter for 120, smart splitter for 60, smart splitter for 20. So these are all left any center overflow. And like that. So the first two of these are going to be easy, obviously, because they're just full belts. The last one is also going to be relatively easy. So we take you. I think we actually just do... Yeah, so I guess it would be like that. And then like that. So you're a Mark 1 belt. You split 40 off this way. And 20 off this way. So that's 120. That is 60. That is 20. And now here we have 200. And then this one would be like 70 something, 73.3 repeating, I think. Alright, so now we just need that to connect back in there. This is going to have to get out somehow. You can just go up, I guess, and onto the next floor when we need it. Should be fine. So now you connect up to there. And oh, I need to connect these across as well. Like so. There we go. So now we have 200 concrete going down this way. And we can just follow it there. And just turn on the steel beams. That'll give us our encased industrial beam production. So we just go here, say left any center overflow, and just like that, we have steel going as well. So the concrete has a bit further to go, so it'll take it a bit. But it does have faster internal belts, so that might help somewhat. So the steel is going. Concrete is here. this all connected up correctly. Right. Alright. Then we just need to send this into a sink. So that will be in here, sort of right by a whole bunch of other sinks on the floor below. I hope we have the space for it. We do. So that is going to go down like that. Get a smart splitter. And oh, this all points the other way. I don't know why I thought that these belts went this way. Alright, we have encased industrial beams producing. It's always a good sign. So now we just get the sink. And in we go. Wait, I forgot about the smart splitter. That's important. So there we go. Make you smart, and then all set up. That is encased industrial beam production. Alright, so we have that. Oh, the steel beams are also split, actually. They don't all go here. In fact, only like half of them do, so we're going to need a splitter on this line as well. So let's take that out, and we get, let's see here, smart splitter for 60 and 40. So this gets a couple of mergers like that. So we have 60 there. We have 60 there. Then 20, 20, and 20. So then this would be 100. Just like that. And I think that needs to be a Mark III belt going into it. Did I get all of these connected? I need that connection still. And actually, I think that needs to be Mark II, because this is going to be 80. Alright, then this line has to go forwards like that. And we need to set these to left any center overflow, left any center overflow. Alright, so that looks like steel is cooking once more. And so then we have these steel beams, which are going to be making steel screws, apparently. And quite a lot of them. 19, almost 19 constructors worth, which will wind up, obviously, as 20 when we round. Okay, is this working correctly? Yeah, it probably is. Unless this is being given too much. So that's 60. That should be 40. Alright, so well, it's technically, because this is only splitting two ways, so this is technically going to be 120 at the moment until we get this set up, so let's do that now. So we can head on over here, and where do we actually want to build this? I think we just want this to be up on the next floor, just for the sake of neatness and not using more horizontal space than we need to. We've got plenty of vertical space. so we might as well. So we get you connected up like that. And then we can put in a whole bunch of constructors just up here somewhere. Actually, is this whole thing tall enough? And why are you still not getting enough? Now you're down to like 50-some%. I need to investigate this. There's got to be something wrong here. That is empty. This is filling. So that's fine. What if I have this output a little bit of extra onto this? Will that maybe help? Okay. They've stopped receiving outputs. Why is that? And how long does it last? Does it cause problems for this row as well? It should just be an unload cycle. Like, there should just be a train in there that's actively unloading, which is why we're being delayed. Alright. This is a problem, because this is emptying out enough that it's also going to be short on aluminum soon, although less so than the other one. So there we go. And there's still nothing to be seen on the belts. So that has run completely dry. And there's no aluminum anywhere. So now those machines are going to start being all messed up. The rest of all those ones are going to have problems now. Okay. Well, let's fly up, see what has happened. It's still no good. It is stayed broken for a while now. Which is weird, because I saw there was a ton of spare aluminum in there last I checked. Okay, now it's going. I don't know why it's going on that belt before the other one. Probably just because it's a shorter trip. Alright, so this is the aluminum. And we have... basically all of these are empty. Yeah. So there's definitely something wrong there. That's not what it should look like. That is not at all what it should look like. Alright, so where is the aluminum train then? I don't think it's the one that's just labeled train. I think I remember to label it. It's probably like just left, huh? Water, Northern Oil. This one right here in the back is the aluminum distributor. Wait, no, the ingots are... where are they? They're like right just over this way, right? Yes. So that is actually our aluminum train right there. And is it full? Probably you. Yes. That one coming towards us now. See if I can intercept it and check. It's almost full. I mean, none of the boxes are filled, but they're all kind of close-ish, I guess, which is something. So it's going to come around. These are all still going, barely. And we're going to deposit some aluminum off. Alright, so if these are still going when that happens, so now all of these are going to stop while the animation plays. And that's going to cause a temporary disruption, but nowhere near the disruption that was being caused previously. That was quite a long delay where there's no aluminum coming in. Alright, so now this is all good. And it's just going. And it is just going. Alright, let's just do a quick check over at the aluminum production. It's relatively close, and we can just confirm that there's nothing horribly wrong there. Actually, we could just hop on this train, which I think is the train that goes here. Alright, at this point, we can hop on this way, and aluminum ingot output. What train is this? That's the fused frame aluminum train. It also has a lot of aluminum requirements. So this is filling up like as fast as it can, but there's just not that much aluminum here because the fused frame train just left a moment ago. So what we're dealing with here is we have trains which are running constantly because they're not full. They're running constantly because the destination has empty space that needs to be filled. But the fact that they're running constantly just means that the input belts aren't as effective, which is the source of our problems here. So, okay, one thing we could do is we could edit this system to be like, we have buffer boxes in here, right? So we could do like last minute buffer boxes here right before this, so that then it can at least fill the freight platforms at maximum speed. Because what we're looking here is just an inability to physically load the aluminum into the train station fast enough. Like if we go all the way back here, these boxes are all filled to the brim. And the production line itself appears to be working at 100%, or close to it. So yeah, I think last minute buffer boxes will help. And then maybe we can do some stuff to set the trains. Because this whole top section I've disabled. We're not using this anymore. So that means it's not contributing to the aluminum input. So basically the more aluminum we get in per second, the less often the trains will have to run, which will then translate to even more aluminum per second. And hopefully that will deal with the issue. So yeah, we are going to have to temporarily take all this out and do some reorganizing. And then I don't even know if this will completely solve the problem or just mitigate it somewhat. But it's going to be a good thing to have anyways. So these all get industrial storage containers pointed in. And there, and one more. There. Alright, so we've got all those. now we just need to set floor holes in here. And oh boy, they barely fit, but they do. So these all get placed in. And then we can go to there. Then we're going to have to drop below and get the belts into these instead of wherever they were going. Alright, so I've got these belts. I don't think you actually need to chop all of them out at this point, actually. But I'm going to just because. So this gets its input from this guy back here. So you go in like that. Then we have this one, which is going to get its input from this guy. So you go forwards, and then forwards a little bit more. Okay, that belt needs to go. Number 3 is here. And goes out to there. Is that straight? Yeah, I guess that's straight. Sure. Alright, then we just get these two in, and they're going to be the longest ones. Then we should be cleared after that. Take some random extra belts out. Then these are going to have to extend further up this way. And you go in there. And that's still too long, so you're going to have to go forwards to there. And then curve in. Alright, so now we should be filling those boxes. And then, let's see, we go here and confirm all of these boxes are receiving aluminum ingots. And then we can run these along. So now this should have the effect of putting 780 a minute in at all times, even considering the gaps, because it'll go twice as fast temporarily to make up for any gaps. Alright, so that is that. And we already have train going in, and it's not going to receive much of anything here, but better than nothing, I guess. So there we go, and now these boxes are filling up, and then once the train leaves, they will empty out, and then that should balance out so that we are putting our full production into the train system. And hopefully that accommodates for it. So the train is filled. Not filled with much of anything, but it's got some. And then these are now doing their thing. Alright. So that is that. And then we just have to hope that it's enough. It looks like it might not be, because the next train is just instantly here. So the other thing that we could do is we could set these trains to wait until they're full. And that'll also help mitigate the problem of not enough output. But that also then causes the problem of trains backlogging in this area, which we do not really have the space to fix. So we're gonna hope that that isn't what we need to do here. And the other thing we could do is like an entire second train station, but I don't really want to do that. Alright, so now this is emptying out really quite fast. So we should be... it should be working, right? Because this seems like it's emptying out faster than it filled, which means we are getting all of our aluminum ingots into the system. There we go. And let's see, I have a couple stacks spare, so I can just throw those in, I guess. Might as well, right? And now these boxes are all filling up. And these last couple have already reached the point where they're just going one belt, because that's all that's going into them. These first couple have a little bit of ways to go there, and this one especially because I threw some extra stuff in just now. But this is like almost enough, right? A full train is like 4 rows, I think. This is already getting up to like 3-ish. So that's a good sign. That's definitely a good sign. And then here comes the train. And there it is. So now we just have to deal with the problem of waiting for the aluminum to actually backlog properly and do everything right. I'm pretty sure I did the math, and we have... I'm pretty sure I specifically built this aluminum production to be enough for all that I need it to do. So hopefully that doesn't cause any issues. As far as expanding this, like, we can't realistically expand this at this point. Alright, then the fused frame aluminum is literally just a couple feet behind this one. And yeah, so if we forced that guy to stay until it was filled, this train would just be sitting there forever, and then it would cut off whatever this is, oil, and then that could potentially cause the entire system to deadlock, where we aren't getting enough oil to make the aluminum, which means that they're just waiting forever. So that's a difficult problem to solve. Alright, now you're going, and you're going to get basically nothing, because you showed up immediately after another train, which you simply shouldn't have done. Okay, and now this train is back again already. Wonderful. Hate to see it. So the fused frame train has a bit of a longer journey, so this sort of thing shouldn't happen every single cycle. Alright, so that is going. And we do actually get like a good ways towards emptying this out, just in that tiny gap. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, so that managed to just about barely get fully emptied in time for it to start filling again. Which does mean that we are putting 780 per stop in, which is pretty nice. So there we go. Now you're off, and this is just going to empty again. And it's going to get fully emptied and then stay there, which is exactly what we need it to do. Alright, yeah, so the other train is nowhere in sight. So now this will just be sending stuff through at the normal rate of 780 a minute. So now these ones are all showing like approximately 780 a minute, which is exactly what it should be. This one is showing more, probably because I shoved that extra stuff in, but it will figure itself out eventually. Okay, what's going on back here? Why are you sitting there? Oh, I see. That's the bauxite input, which is about as resource hungry as the aluminum output is. But that's fine. This is going. And hopefully then the one or other of the train stops will eventually get fully capped out, and then we'll be fine. Alright, so we fly over this way. I think I see the aluminum unloading over there, actually. Yeah, that's what that was. So let's get over here, see what this looks like. And the answer is, it looks like very little. So that is not ideal. We need there to be more aluminum in here than there is. We need there to be more aluminum in here than there is. We are theoretically taking like as much output as we can. We're taking 2 full belts of output each. So this side is going to be fine. It might have problems with the balancing, but we'll see about that. It is set up to not have to worry about that because they're pulling in 2 different directions, which is why it's as well balanced as it is. It looks like the center is getting a bit less than the others, though. That is still mostly full. That's fine, probably. Probably not a huge concern, at least. So much as just getting enough aluminum through in the first place is. Because theoretically, yeah, so now these outer ones are fully emptied, and now this one is going to be outputting even more. So now these outer rows are now just about gone. There they go. So now we're just relying on this one, which theoretically, technically, can fill both belts, but is going to go fast trying to do so. Yep, and there we go. It's emptied. We are getting another aluminum delivery. And hopefully the numbers in these aluminum deliveries will trend upwards. Like this is 3/4. That's like 75% of a train there. And we're going to just have to see if that is enough. Alright. So the thing that could happen is the fuse train could be getting more aluminum than this, but I think this is getting more aluminum because it's faster, so it visits more frequently, so it has an advantage there. So theoretically, this should cap out eventually and be fine. Alright, there we go. And that's some good solid aluminum there. A bit of a delay on when it needed to be here, but hopefully it'll be fine, and hopefully we'll get full trains in the future. Because yeah, what we need these trains to be filled to the brim every time, or at least nearly every time. So let's head back over here and see how that's going. So these are going to be fully draining the outputs there every time they run. It would be really nice if we were getting more aluminum ingots into the train system than the trains were taking out, but that's definitely just not the case. So we have, like, what, 2 rows prepared here. It might get up to 3 by the time the train makes it around. So yeah, hopefully that's fine. How much is this? This is theoretically 780 times 5 is 3,900. I mean, assuming that math is correct, which I think it is, this should be like more than enough, because the aluminum ingots we're doing here is only 1,300, and the fuse frames aren't taking all that many. I think they're taking about the same. Alright, we are up to just about 3 full cargoes again, which is a good sign. I think that probably means it's just about working. Alright, let's hop back over there and see, because it might be fine already if this is holding out. So if we have enough reserves over here, we might be okay at that rate. But there's also, like, the fuse frames haven't shown up in a bit, which is worrying, because they're going to show up and they're going to mess with that whole setup. Alright, this should probably make it until that delivery gets over here. So that's great. And then, so yeah, that's all going well. This is coming along. This shouldn't even be that close to running out. I mean, even the outer rows still have a full line. So then what we're going to need to think about is making this more balanced, because this inner row is going to cause delays, and I don't think it has enough capacity to survive those delays. Alright, so you're here now. These still have plenty of aluminum. So if it were to just continue running at this pace, it would be fine. If it were to just continue running at this pace, it would be okay. And then the question is, like, this center row here will eventually run out. It'll eventually fill up, and then the train won't leave until that empties. And by the time that happens, these will all be much closer to empty, which I don't think is good. Alright, so we have this. And then there's the problem of just the delays, because that one belt is taking 750, which is very close to 780. And I don't know if the constant stops on this line are going to be able to keep up with that. So this is all the way up to pretty high numbers in all of them, which is a good sign. I wish I could do, like, more fine-tuned control on when it leaves. Like, I can set it either completely full or completely empty, or after a certain amount of time, but I don't want to have to, like, calculate what the certain amount of time is. I just want to be able to say, like, hey, if only the center one has any stuff in it, just, like, go immediately. And then the other thing which I could do would be, I could use priority mergers to get you as higher priority. That might actually just straight up be a good solution. So now if you're higher priority, you'll drain faster in both directions. Which, well, you'll drain faster than these ones. And then they will be draining in those directions. Alright, this might help. I do not know what effect this is going to have on these, but probably not much, because the amount they were draining in the opposite direction was going to be very minimal to begin with. So hopefully that's all sorted out. And we're going. I could just straight up tell the machine to just run constantly and not wait for this to be filled, but it would cause some throughput issues, but not really significant ones, I don't think. Who knows? So then the question is if the delays from the train stopping here are going to cause it to not work. And I really hope the answer is that it's fine, but very well might not be. Because 750 is quite close to 780. Alright, so the train is back, and this time... Okay, this time it only got like 700 each, so that means that the fused frame must have stopped. So this is going to be a short delay for not much. So the way to prevent this from being an issue is we just need like midway point boxes. Alright, so wait, this is priority medium there. So if I were to put a box here, just like a regular old storage container, I have to chop both of those, I think. Alright, hopefully the vertical spacing works there. It doesn't. Alright, so we're gonna have to get that like completely precise. So what if it's something like that, and then this rests on that platform and goes there. I shouldn't have used Mark 1 foundations for that, but it's fine. Alright, so then we have that, and then that needs to be connected back up. Alright, so this box will fill up with these, which otherwise won't be used in this direction because this is priority. And then, when a train stops here, this will empty and keep the 780 going round the clock. And then we can do the same thing down here for the other direction. And that's going to be much easier because it's just on ground level. Alright, so we're going to drain a little bit quicker than normal for a temporary little bit. But it should be fine. Alright, so now, yeah, so these are filling up. And then when the train comes back around, these belts won't go empty. They'll just feed off of this. And that should mitigate the problem. And again, these belts otherwise wouldn't be doing much of anything back here because of how the priority works. So in the short term, we're going to be draining a lot faster from the outside edges. In the long term, it should be fine. so that is the resupply train showing up, and we should see a solid proof of concept. The boxes aren't entirely full, but they shouldn't need to be entirely full for this to work. It should be just fine as it is. Alright, so here comes the train. And it's in. And are you almost full? Yes, you are delivering an almost full block. That's good. Alright, so now we see that we are not getting any new stuff in, but these are still working, keeping everything functional. So, just like that, we are stable on that end, and then these are definitely not going to have any issues with not being able to fill up fast enough. So yeah, that should be that. We managed to keep that little bit of productivity going. And now the train is left. So we need to continue making sure that this center platform gets its output gets used enough, because I think it's still pretty clearly not the same as the others. Let's actually get, we can check that with some throughput monitors on all of these, and we want these to be as close to even as possible. I think perfectly even isn't necessary, but reasonably close is. Alright, so those are all in, and then we will see how it lines up. Alright, so far we're looking at like 194, 195 there. Same there, but up to 390 over this side. On both? Alright, that's because this is filling. So once that finishes going all the way up, the bottom half of that should crash to basically 0. And likewise over here. So we have 390 there. We have 190 there. We have 400, 390-ish there. And these numbers are still crashing. So this, I think this side is going to be more accurate. So it's 390 and basically 0. 195 and basically 0. 195 each. And so yeah. That is not surprising. So then those are doing their whole thing. So basically these ones, and actually now it's these ones which aren't outputting enough, I think. Assuming that this stays. Yeah, so this is staying at 390-ish. But these ones are only at 195-ish. So we need to enhance how much of these the output takes. Now, how do we do that? So if we, let me think here, if we just send another, if we just split this and send the other branch just into this same merger, that should actually work, right? Probably. It'll at least be something. Alright, we have that little bit of a delay, and then we're back. So what I'm thinking is, if we literally just like that, and then the same on the other side, like that. So that should make this less prioritized than it currently is, because it's now 1/3 instead of 1/2, which will help a little bit, I think. Now we're going to have to wait for this to all equalize out. And hopefully that solves it. I don't know how to... There's definitely a better way of doing this in general, but that is... looks like it's down in the 240 to 270 range. So it's going to be like 250. Once that spike up there goes away, we'll be able to see the correct value. Alright, so that's 260. That's 260. This is 260 each direction. That's 260 and that's 260. So now this one is being over prioritized. So it's literally outputting twice what the others are, it looks like. So how do we deal with that? What we need to do is just make that not be what happens. Let me think for a second. I don't know. I don't actually know how to do that. It's better, at least. I mean, we have these two equal. Alright, what if we... Okay, we could do some weird stuff, maybe. Like with priority mergers. We could do weird stuff with priority mergers. But I don't know how much of a help that'll be. It also looks like it might just be fine. I mean, that did last... So yeah, the outer bits are probably lasting now. They're saying they're taking in 360, but they're only outputting 260-ish. And even less than that. Well, no, it's going to be more than that immediately after as the top bits surge up. But yeah, I think this is going well. This is probably not the most sensible way of designing a train system, but it is working, which is the important part. Now, this center bit doesn't do anything when these are draining. And I would want it to take... And I think that's a good thing, right? Because it does more work all the other times. So that helps balance it out a little bit. Alright, what do we do here? Because yeah, right now this is up to 170, which is going to crash down in a second. Alright, this all looks good. This all looks good, except for the imbalance. The imbalance is the one problem. So this center one is incoming of 309, outgoing of 500 some. Alright, so the whole thing is 780. 780 divided by 260, no, not 7,780, is 3. So that's doing a third, this is doing a third, this is doing a third. But we don't want that, actually, because this one is doing it for both sides. So, we actually want is... Oh, why is this slower? Oh, because it's not actually 780. This must have filled the box down there. That's a good sign. Alright. So that is also going to be helpful if the belts aren't draining at the full 780. So now this is only 190. So yeah, we've gotten to a point where they're all balanced, like, in the batches of 3 that they use. But this is included in both batches of 3, which means that it's going to be drained more than the others. Which, you know, is kind of funny because we managed to get to the exact opposite problem as we had a second ago. Now, we could just... how do we do this? So we need this to be half, right? So we need this to be... We need these to be the same, and this to be half of that. So, 7880 divided by 2.5 is 312. What does that mean? So if these are each 312, and then the center one is half of that, which would be like 156, then it would be perfectly balanced amongst all 3. So really all we need is we just need this to be half as good. So we need half of the input from here going into this to not do that. How do we get that? Now the alternative, I guess, is we could just like have this... Okay, maybe if we set... No, because we can't set like actual proper ratios with priority mergers and such. What if we... There has to be a way. I know that there's a way. But I think it might involve more mergers, which we don't have the space for. Yeah, I think it involves more mergers, which we don't have the space for. Now, here's the thing. If this is the only one which is getting heavily drained, then that'll be fine, because there should be enough slack in the rest of these to hold up for one. The problem that we were trying to solve was when there was just one of these which was falling behind. So this one was, when we were starting trying to fix this one was the only one not outputting as much as the others, which meant that the train would be in the station waiting on this one, and the rest of them would all drain out, and then when the train left, this one would be full and these ones would be empty or mostly empty. And then the storage of just this one freight platform is not enough to keep up while the train makes its trip. But if we have the opposite, we have 4 capped out train platforms. These ones on the edges are having to take extras until they get to that point. But we have 4 capped out freight platforms, one that's empty for a while. These, also plus these in case it gets to that point, should be able to keep the whole thing going for a lot longer, and probably long enough for the train to make a trip. So what I'm saying is it's probably fine. It's probably fine. The alternative, actually, if I... No, that wouldn't work. What I was thinking was, if I just have these 2 stations over here, and these 3 stations over here, then if I just balance the belts, then that might be fine, but then that would put more stress on these 2 and less on those 3. Although, I mean, the other thing to consider is that this uses less aluminum. I don't know. It's probably fine. It's probably fine as is. I'm going to just stop worrying about it. Although, no, I'm just gonna stop worrying about it. If it becomes an issue in the future, it becomes an issue in the future. We'll look at it then. For now, though, we should be totally fine. And we even have these extra little buffers in here, which should help quite a bit. And we have these buffers down here, which might even be filling now. They should have been filling for this last little bit at least. See if they're full or not. That one is full, and this one, which is the problem one, is filling. So yeah, I think that is all that. Problem solved. Aluminum is now getting sent through the train system at the correct rate, at least for the time being. It might change. You know, the train system is very complicated and there's all sorts of moving pieces there, so it might stop working. But for now, at least, it should be working. And then we go back over here, and we've got what we were working on as far as actually making more progress on the factory, which is steel beams to steel screws. So, let's just take this over this way. Oh, gotta go back to Zoop mode. Why is it called Zoop mode? I guess because it makes a fun zoop sound when you place it. Kind of funny. All of the other things are like relatively descriptive, like vertical, or even like default, but nope, zoop. Alright, so we've got that area over there. Now what we need is just like a good old-fashioned constructor blueprint. Like, I don't know, maybe this? No. Let's see here. Constructor. Steel screws. It's this one. Alright. So this is 5 input to 260 output. This is an insanely high amount of screws. That is a lot of screws that we're making there for 18.897 of these. Goodness, that is a ridiculous amount of screws. Almost 5,000 screws in total. All right, that is a lot. All right, so let's find. Can we just like have a normal constructor blueprint? Nothing crazy, just like, I don't know. All these names, like, let's see here. Are any of these just like named constructor blueprint? No, none of these are. Alright, so which of these then are blueprints? Iron wire, this is a blueprint, which is 1:4, which works with the ratio we're going for, and looks like it's all correct. So let's just get this set up then. Okay, let's place that in, and then these are yellow. Why are you? Because I never powered on the sink. Alright, so that is fixed. Sorry, just random distractions. Gotta make sure that things in this factory actually function. Alright, so we've got this. Looks all set up and proper. It's not gonna auto snap, but I only have to place like 5 of these, so that's fine. And this was the iron wire blueprint that I was using. So let's go blueprint auto connect mode, just even though it won't. And then we just have to place 5 of these down. That's number 3. And we need to bring power out here. There we go. Then we need to expand our foundations off into the distance. Off into the distance. And let's see, that should be enough, honestly. Sorry about that. I had to sneeze. Alright, so we've got 3. We need 2 more. Should be plenty of space. Iron wire. There we go. And 1 more. Alright, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these guys in. So now we need to bring the power along the rest of the way. And then we need to set our numbers. So how much is this actually? Because I need the numbers for the calculations. It is 3,000 plus 1166.657 plus 746.666, and we get 4,913.32367. What a lovely number that is. Just the best number possible. 4,913.3236 divided by 20. 4,913.3236 divided by 20. Oh. I have to actually set the recipe first. Steel screws. What was it? 4,913.3236. 4,913.3236 divided by 20 equals 245 point some. Alright, so then we just paste you all the way along. And we just have to paste this to all of them. And yeah, so these are not really going to be doing much auto-connecting together because of how insanely fast all of it is. We're going to have to worry even about, like, not even a single one of these possibly can go in all the way. Alright, so then we just need our 1 to 5 splitter, which should be easy in these numbers. So you just do, like, you pretend you're doing a 1 to 6 splitter, and then you send the 6th one back, is all you gotta do. And the numbers of the steel going into this is 94.487. So Mark II belts only for inputs. So then we have you go there and there. Alright, so now we have a 1 to 3. So we go over here, put you right in there, and these can all be Mark I belts. Like that, and then over here. Alright. Those are all in. Then we need our merger, which will take this one back. Did I accidentally put that up? Yes, I did. Gonna have to fix that because I definitely don't want that to happen. Alright, so then you just go into there. And we get this belt to go in to the other spot in the merger. And there we go. That is steel beams delivered into this system. And we're going to have quite a bit of screws. And in fact, this is so many screws that this might not be a good way of doing this. Because we're going to have to do all sorts of balancing to get this to work. But let's see, 245.66 times 4. is 982 times 3 is 736.98. So we can get these in batches of 3. And then that's a batch of 3, which means that has to be cut out. And then that's a batch of 3, which means that has to be cut out. And that's just naturally a batch of 3. Then we do that. And then we get those 3, and then we get these 2 on the end. Alright, so now we have a whole bunch of belts of not quite 780. And all of these need sinks. So let's start getting those in. We're going to need a bit of foundation. Alright, then this comes back. Just make sure we've got enough space. Now we should have plenty. And we go special. Awesome, sink. Place that over here, right by this. And then get a smart splitter going into it. Like that. Alright, so that's just like sort of the template for what we're doing here. Then the rest of these are going to be going in all aligned. There we go. Yeah, they actually line up quite nicely here. There we go. Yeah, they're always just on the center of 2 foundations, which is convenient. Alright, that is still correct, and then we just have one more to go over here. And there we go. So now, these all get smart splitters, which obviously we will deal with getting the settings later once we have some place to actually send these to. Alright, so those are all in. Okay, somehow I just forgot to do this last one for some reason. So you go like that and a little bit forwards. You go like that and a little bit forwards, and we just keep going down the line until they're all good. So there we go. There we go. Alright, so now those are all set up. Let's get them all powered on. Now, why did you do that? I don't need an additional power line just for you. So let's get all of these guys all powered up. Let's get some power lines over there to deal with it. There we go, and then this one can get the last 2. And this one has to be set because I did it wrong. There we go. Alright. You are ACU Iron 2. That's directly above us now. Gosh, this factory has sprawled a lot. It's fine, though. It's still the same one, which we're fine being giving us warning signs. Okay, now we need... These are 245 each. So if we set these to Mark 3, that'll output at 270, which is actually relevant here because it should distribute the output somewhat more evenly so there's less massive bursts and more just steady output. Alright, so that is all in, and then these guys should be getting all sorted out soon. Alright, so that is the screws. And these are... Yeah, so this whole thing is still doing its buffering shenanigans, which will not take that much longer, so we can just leave that. These last couple still have some, but it's getting close to being done. Alright, so the screws should, in theory, be just about good. We just have to wait. It will take a little bit for these buffers to clear as well, just because of how all that works. But we have steel screws. Alright, that is that step done. Which means that's all we need the steel beams for, right? Yeah, probably. So most of them are going that way, and then the remains are going up here. And these aren't like filling up or anything. They're sitting at 5s and 6s, which is probably correct. The ones which are not at 100% have that because of output problems, I think, which should no longer exist. So yeah, these are currently up in the 400s. They're pretty quickly going to drop down, and they should oscillate between 0 and the 50s. And it's just a matter of how long it takes them to physically get the screws out onto the belts for that to happen. Alright. So that is that. What is next? What is another thing that we can do? We can combine all-clad aluminum sheets and copper sheets to make heat sinks. And that's just 8 assemblers, which is a remarkably convenient number. Alright, which one of you is all-clad? That's this one, right? Yes, so you're the all-clad sheets. And then both of these things are only going to this one spot. So we don't have to worry about any splitting. We can just grab our copper sheets, which are probably one of these pipes or belts, right? Yes, it's this belt. Just the center one, I guess. Be able to see, it should be this one. And we need 180 of them. Which makes this a Mark III, I guess. And these are the all-clad sheets up here, right? Right. Alright, so that can be done just in this immediate area, which is good. We were sort of drifting over to the left, and it'd be better to drift over to the right if we can. So let's just grab all of this space over here. And we need rows. We need 2 rows of 4 assemblers, which I'm pretty sure we have a blueprint that does that somewhere. Alright, let's see here. Quick wire cable is 3 assemblers. Let's see here. Fused wire. Yes, fused wire is 4 assemblers. I think this might be one of the ones which doesn't auto snap, which is basically not an issue at all if we're only doing 2 of these. Alright. I actually need you to be rotated that way for convenience. Our inputs are on this side. So we just pop that in. Oh, this might be the one with weird stuff going on with the power. I think the power lines might not be properly connected. Alright, we need to get those power lines connected up. Now we can fly in the area. Okay. No, there weren't any weird stuff there. So we can just set these to heat sinks. Heat sinks, heat sinks, heat sinks. Where are you? There you are. And it's just 100%, right? 8 heat sinks. 8 heat sink assemblers. Yep. So these can just be 100%. Paste them all across. And this will give us, looks like 60 heat sinks. So there we go. We combine those 2. How much inputs are these? 300 and 180. It's quite a lot. So that means we're probably going to have to speed up belts going into this, which is fine. So this top one will be the 180, I guess. And so it's going to be 90, 90, and then 45s the rest of the way. All right, so that actually works out. So we just put the copper sheets in here. And it has to be Mark III going into that. All right, then we drop down, and these ones are 300. So that is 150, 150, then 75, 75, and then down. All right, yeah, so that should be all good to go. So we just need you to come down, and the 180s are the copper sheets, and the 300s are the heat sinks. So copper sheets, actually we can just send those down another floor because that's where the copper sheets are at the moment. Yeah, that'll be more convenient. Alright, so then that is aligned like that. Oh, nope, apparently not. There's one. Oh, wait, does this not? Alright, no, I just looked at it wrong. Alright, good. I was worried I had gotten the foundations misaligned, which would be a huge pain. But I hadn't. I just saw where the floor hole was wrong. Alright, so then this comes down to this level. And then you can just go around this way. And in like that. Should leave enough space for these remaining things. So we've got those going up. Then we just have to grab these, say right any center overflow, and then bring this belt on over. And we need it to go around that, unfortunately, and then in. And that's our all-clad sheets, and that is our heat sinks. So these are going to propagate over this way, and then just go into a sink. It's actually exactly 60 a minute, which is quite convenient. Wait, what is... Okay, no. There's just an optical illusion where it looked like that was almost exactly on this floor. I had a heart attack thinking there was some, like, minor misalignment or something, but there wasn't. I've been, like, especially worried about that sort of thing today, despite the fact that it's literally never happened. Like, in all of my time doing this. I think I've literally never had that problem. But I have almost had that problem a couple of times, to be fair. Alright. Actually, we have 1,000 printable coupons. Which means we can just, like, get the golden nut now. So that's pretty cool. But the important thing for now is just the factory. We'll deal with the golden nut probably just at the end of the phase, honestly. We have nuclear pasta as well. Alright, heat sinks are going. And that's another thing done. Alright. I really need to organize this factory blueprint thing into things that I have and things that I don't have, because it's sort of all intermixed at the moment. I think I still have to do the oil-related stuff. Yeah, I think everything to do with oil I haven't done yet. That pipe is just empty. So let's just head over here. Let's do a quick check of the aluminum while we're passing by. So these boxes at this point should probably both be full, although this one, it is filling slowly, which is fine. Alright, so here we have our singular pipe of crude oil. And we need 89 of it. And we can just do that over this area. It shouldn't be that much. Because, I mean, it's really very little crude oil. Alright, so let's get this. Let's see, that probably enough space. Alright. Cool. Now we get to do refineries. Oh gosh, this is using the polymer resin for stuff. Right, because it's actually efficient. Alright, so we need 3 refineries, almost exactly, just barely less than that, of just a heavy oil residue alt. And this is 118.667 divided by 3. There we go. Let's just paste those settings. And get a power pole in. Connect them all up to the power pole. And then connect that up to another power pole over there. Alright, so that is that. And we just want to send the pipe in. Don't have an equivalent of straight... Oh, we do have an equivalent of straight mode. I guess we'll use that. Might as well. Alright, so this pipe has to come along. We need to leave some space for the nitrogen stuff to do whatever it is the nitrogen stuff is going to have to do. Alright, so that is crude oil going. Now, liquids, unlike solids, you can't just sink at every opportunity. So we're going to have to actually just, like, get through all of this and then sink whatever the outputs are. So let's get our mergers for the polymer resin. It's going to be just less than 60 of it, I think. Yeah, 59.3. So Mark 1 belts all there. And then we can get our pipes for the heavy oil residue. They go along. And there we go. Alright. Then those pipes all connect up. Alright, phase 1 down. Next we need to get water up here. That's gonna suck. Alright, the water is all the way down there somewhere. We need to get it up here for the diluted fuel. And for the residual rubber. But not much, less than a pipe. Less than half a pipe, actually. Alright, so we drop down. And we've got all of this stuff going. And where is our spare water? Is it this line here? Possibly. The whole water system is kind of a giant mess. This is showing 600 a minute. Okay, no, it's doing weird stuff because we have a whole bunch of buffers preventing problems. Now, I'm pretty sure when I built this, I built enough water capacity to do everything that I needed to do. However, I don't know where I actually put it. So, are these guys over here? Yes, these guys over here are also doing something. Although, it's unclear what. It's 18% and 20%. Alright. So it seems like these... It seems like this row might be the one with the spare water. At least, let's see. Does it have almost 300 spare water, though? And I don't know if it does. It's going to be easier and safer to just not mess with the water that we've got. I mean, we can just simply add more water extractors. They're going to be all the way over here, which is annoying. That's an oil extractor, not a water extractor. They're going to be in an annoying spot, just very far away. But they're going to have to go like a half mile directly up anyways. Alright. Where there was a blue spot somewhere in here, I saw. Alright. There is good. So this is 360. So let's then bring our pipes along like so. And then connect these ones up. And connect you up. Alright, so now we get power. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and there. Alright, so these guys are now cooking. You just have to bring this water pipe up like the entirety of the factory without getting in the way of anything. So we can go there onto the underside of that floor. And then this is where all the rest of the belts go up. And I actually have a wall here. So this can go up this wall. Like that. And then just through a floor hole or something. Let's get... No, don't do that. Let's get you across. Alright, you went too far up. Although it actually does wind up looking a lot like a floor hole, which I guess is the only thing that matters because it's just an aesthetic thing anyways. But we're going to do it right. There you go. And there you go. Alright. So now we have that. And how is there water in these pipes? There's absolutely not enough head lift for that. Just like categorically impossible. Alright, let's get a pump and start getting the actual head lift. So we have that, goes up, and how far up will that take us, I wonder? Is it filling all the way up to here? Who knows? Let's get you in and then see if that works. Okay, see a power line down there, which I can just randomly attach to. Alright, so then that is giving another 50 meters of head lift, which this doesn't look like 50 meters. It might be close, though. Let's see here. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32, 36. It's probably, like, close. It's probably close, but if it works, then it works. So let's get... Wait, what is this? Oh, is this the actual intended water? Yeah, it's gotta be. Alright, this is the water, actually, so I don't need this. I don't need this. And... did I pump this? Yes, I did. I don't need this, but I'm going to use it anyways, just because it's more safe than messing with the water system that exists. Water systems can randomly be annoying and stop working. So keep it simple. Don't attach more stuff onto something which is already working. Just make a new pipe. And this looks like it's flowing at this level. Oh boy, it's dark. Jeez, what the heck? No, light goes from everything's completely visible for a very long time, and then suddenly it's so dark you can't see a thing. I guess it's like a new moon or something. Weird. Alright, anyways. So we have our water now. We need to do diluted fuel and residual rubber. So that's 3 blenders and 2 refineries, which should be able to just fit along this area here. Alright, there we go. I think I've managed to make some overlap in the foundations, but it doesn't really matter. As long as I don't ever want to dismantle them, it'll be fine. Alright, that one, I would have placed it too high up. Alright, so blenders and refineries. So we get 3 blenders, which can just go here. I guess try to keep this relatively compact. 1, 2, and 3. Then we get our 2 refineries, which can just go right next to them, I guess. Like that. Alright. So the blenders are obviously doing diluted fuel. So let's paste that across to them. And that's just 2 fluid inputs, 1 fluid output. Nice and easy. So let's get a power line somewhere that's not in the way. Put it in front of the solid inputs, which we are not using. So connect those 3 up. And then get them powered. Alright, the actual numbers are... See, it's another one where it's split into 2, so it's 93.111 plus 144.222 is 237.333, and I assume that's probably repeating. 237.333 repeating divided by 3. And then we just paste that across. And we get like 80 each. Alright, so fluids, we're going to try to do like very basic fluid load balancing. I frequently don't do this, but it will be technically marginally more convenient to do it like that. Okay. You can just go auto mode and in. So that's heavy oil residue in. Okay, and then there's the water as well, which we just need to have like stacked up there. And there. Alright, that horizontal to vertical actually just worked very well for somehow just... I don't know why it did that, but it does... It's a weird shape, but it does completely avoid the other pipes, which is convenient. Alright, then we just attach new in, and that should be that. So now we can have water going up this way and into the blenders. There we go. So that will now be making our fuel until the polymer resin happens. So we need to get these 2 set to residual rubber. Residual rubber. and 29.666 repeating divided by 2. Then we copy and we paste. Alright, we get a splitter going into those two, and we get a fluid thing. Can go like one stack up. I don't know, something like that. Fluids are weird. Does curve work here? It does. Alright, and then we just attach you into that, and up you go. That was also set to curve, which didn't really intend it to, but that's fine. It's not going to break anything. Alright, so now I need to power these, which I forgot to do. So power pole, power line, connected. There we go. So now these are going to be filling up with water, and we need to get this out through all of this piping nightmare. And we did cleverly leave a path. Very intentional and not at all a convenient coincidence. Alright, so that is residual rubber done. This is fuel done, and it's just all filled up. Alright, now we have the rest of our plastic and rubber recycling. So, the bad news is that we have to take both plastic and rubber out of this, and there are no convenient numbers anywhere to be found. So it's just kind of going to be awful, I think. Alright, let's try to get that sorted out. So step one, obviously, is get the fuel together. Like that, and you can go back to auto mode. There we go. There you go. So now this is just waiting on the polymer resin finally making it through the belts, which it looks like it just about has. Alright, cool. Now it is time for the hard part. The hard part being recycled plastic and recycled rubber. Oh boy, here we go. So we need a whole bunch of refineries. We need at least 4 plastic refineries and at least 5 rubber refineries. So let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And give me some space, 7. Where that somehow got placed in the right spot. Cool. And that should be 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yep, that sure is a lot of refineries. So, alright, here we go. Gotta make... Okay, so the recycled plastic outputs 42 and then some weird number. I can probably force 42. I don't know how, but I can probably do that, which shouldn't be too hard. And then it's just going to be a matter of just sending the rest of it into the rubber. And then if I can manage the same thing with the rubber, which needs 195.333. Alright. That is definitely going to be hard, but it seems like it might be possible. Alright, so we we have just like all the basics set. So 42 coming off of the recycled plastic. So these are going to be outputting this way. And really the first one, we can pull the 42 off at any point. Excuse me, another sneeze. So even the first one makes enough plastic output for the entire thing, which means that we can pull it out at any point, which is convenient. Now let's still do it at the last possible minute anyways, just in case weird stuff happens. Alright, these refineries have to be pointed the other direction. That's important, because it's a whole loop thing. Alright, so these... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then these are recycled rubber. Alright, so let's just get the settings in. Obviously, we're going to have to set the exact ratios and everything. Alright, so we have our whole line of mergers like that. And then they're all going to be outputting into that line of mergers like that. And then how much plastic is this total? Like 180, so Mark III will be fine. And then somewhere in here we have a smart splitter which goes that way and takes 42 out. So how do we get 42? If it were 40, it would be easy, because it would just be trivial. Can we get 2 easily? 60 divided by 30? I'm not doing that. Divided by 3 is 20. Divided by 2 divided by 5 would give us 2. So we could force 42 that way. Divided by 3, divided by 2, divided by 5. And then just take one of those 30 outputs, 30 theoretical outputs anyways. And that would be 2, add it to the 40, and we'd be done. That seems like a mess, but it is possible at least. And having a possible solution is step 1. Having a convenient solution is step 2. Let's get power out here so that we don't have to worry about that. Alright, so the other way we would be able to get 42 would be by finding something more directly divisible. So if we could get 30 and 12, actually. That seems easier. Because 60 divided by 5 is 12. 60 divided by 2 is 30. Yeah, alright, that's easy enough that I'm content with that being the ultimate plan. So, step 1. We have this go off this way. And this is going to be right any center overflow, just to make sure. And then we're just going to send a reasonably fast belt. Oh, this has to be rotated this way. So this, to have a reasonably fast belt, just in case. Alright, so we get a splitter there. Actually, this is convenient. Half of this we need to get rid of. We can just send it back into there, and that would be 30 plus the 180 something would be 210, which would still not be an issue for a Mark III belt to carry. And then the other 30 can go onwards into whatever we do next. So then we have our 12. So we have a smart splitter here. And it was a 5th, right? So let's just get a 1 to 5 balancer. And hang on, wait, let's let's think about this a little bit. So in order for a 1 to 5 balancer to work, so we send some through there, and that has to be 60, right? So that has to be 60, which means that this has to be like 120, right? So we have 60 going through here. Then, so all of these would be 12. So we need to merge all of these back up and into whatever we're sending over that way. Which we can't actually shortcut that because it has to loop back. And we can't shortcut... Alright, so what we can do is actually invert this. Wait, hang on. What was I thinking? Right, okay, yeah, I figured it out. So that goes there. And then this we can cut out. So now we have a third. So now we have it at a half, and then a third, and then one of these is going to be our output of 12, the other one is going to be merging up with all the rest of this junk. So you go into there, and then, I mean, we're going to have to do like a 1 to 5 splitter type thing, so all of you can also merge up with this guy like that, and then from back here we can then split the remaining plastic, probably. Alright. Okay, this, which is our output, needs to then merge up one more time with the other one of that. So that is 30. This is 12. This is 42. Alright, I should definitely... This is complicated enough that I should definitely give labels. So you are... What are you? Plastic? Is that what we're working on here? Plastic. 42. This one is 30. And this one, I guess we have to put the sign like up here. Yeah, we can put the sign in there, and that'll be clear probably. So that's 12. Alright, so that's probably all good. Assuming that I did it right, that should function. And then we just take this, just balance it off into that, and then we're good on the plastic. So next, the fun part, which I cleverly did on the side, which leaves me almost no space for it. 195.333 per minute. So, that's obviously not very convenient. Now the first thing I'm seeing here is 120 plus 60 plus 15.333 repeating. So if I can get 15.3 repeating, then we're good. So 15.3 repeating, let's multiply that by 3, is 46, which is weirdly close to what we just did, which was pretty complicated. So 46 times 2 is 92, times 3 is 138, times 4 is 184. Let's see if we see anything convenient. 230. That's actually relatively straightforward, because 230 is 270, which is Mark 3, minus 40, which is 2/3 of Mark 1. We might have to, like, send this down a level. Yeah, let's actually send this down a level for the balancing so that I have all the space that I need. And we shouldn't have anything just directly beneath us at the moment. Alright, so let's start, of course, by connecting all of these guys up. And then the total rubber, oh wait, no. Total rubber output is not that. Oh no, because that's what we're trying to force out, right? This is fine. I haven't made a mistake. Total rubber output is in Mark 4 belt territory, I think. Just barely above 270. So these all connect up. And then we're just going to send it down into a floor hole. Cool. And then we can bring it up out of a floor hole over on this side. And let's just get this built so that I know where that has to be. And we do have a little bit of flexibility on this, but not that much. So we can have it either there or there. Let's have it over here, because that's further away and thus less likely to cause problems with having to build on top of us. These belts are all going to need to be sped up, but we'll deal with that later. Alright, so that is that. And actually, let's see, this needs to be Mark 2, right? Because it's 93 rubber going into this, and then the rest of this would be fine. Alright, cool. So now we drop down onto a fun little logistics floor. So, we get a wall. It goes down a little bit. And then we build a floor out. There doesn't look to be anything else on this level in general. So let's build out. Plenty of space. Alright, so now we have that. We are taking... Ooh. We are taking you down and then going up there. So we have our 193 point whatever, which is going to go out to the side, and then the remains will go in there. Alright. So we're going to start with the easy bit. That's always the best place to start. Yeah, smart splitter, followed by a smart splitter, followed by a smart splitter. Now this is the main line, which goes down the center. And it doesn't loop back weirdly for no reason. Alright, so left. Left any center overflow for all of these. And we get 120 plus 60 plus this number, which we just need to get building. And then this one, the overflow will be going up there. Alright. So, what did I have there? 230 is 270 minus 40. So we start with 270. And actually we need a merger there, I think. So we start with 270. Then we take a splitter out of that. And this is going to be right any center overflow. And then this will be like that. So then we have 60, 20, and 40, and then the other 30 goes forwards, and I guess just merges back into that. Alright, so we have 270 here. This needs a belt. Is this right? I think this needs to be a priority merger with priority right. So we have 270 there, but this is going to be 40. So this belt is 270, that belt is 40. This belt here, right, this belt here then would be our 230. So let's get a sign for that so that we do not get confused, and this is rubber. $230. Alright, so that's 230. Then we need to divide that by 5 to get 46. Alright, so we can do this the same way we did just upstairs. 1 to 5 balancer. And you can go in there. We can have a little bit of space, I guess. Alright, then we have this one loops back. That one goes out. This one loops back, I think. No, it can't loop back to there, actually. We need more. No, we can fix that by making that be a merger. So you go there, and then this whole side doesn't need to split off like that. That whole side can loop back. Alright, get rid of all that, and you loop back into there. So, wait, no, you don't loop back into there. That would be a mistake. You need to loop back into somewhere. Where are you going? Alright, well, you're going somewhere. You are 230 minus 46. You're like 184. Do you just need to loop back all the way to the beginning somewhere, maybe? Yeah, we need you to loop back to like here, I think. Because 184 is quite a lot, actually. It's faster than either of these belts need to be, which would cause problems. Although, actually, hang on. 184 is faster than both of those belts combined, which means I actually don't need them, right? I can just have this be the 180, which splits into 60 and 20, and then have the 4 go in there somewhere. Alright, so what we need to do is we need this to be faster then. So that's 230, right? Then this is the one where the big loop back happens. Right, so this is the 1 to 5 splitter, right? So you need to be, I think you need to be a Mark II in there, because you're going to be taking 2 of those. Then you're going to need to be probably better, make you a Mark IV. And then these had better be Mark 3s probably. Yeah, because that would be 180. That would be 180-ish. Alright, so then that would be our 230 belt going in. And we have this one, which should be 46. These two would also be 46, and then they merge back into here, which is fine, because that's just what that has to do. Wait. No, wrong. Only one of these has to merge back into here for it to be a 1 to 5. Otherwise, we'd make it like a 1 to 4 or something. So the other one needs to... I guess we need this one to go forwards and merge up with you. This is getting very complicated and confusing. So you merge up with that. And then you are the 46 we want, I think. Alright, let's take it from back here. So we have 230. Then, so we have 270 going in here. Then this gets split off to 60, which gets split off to 20, 20, and 20. So, this belt is 210, this belt is 230, these two just harmlessly filter back in and get this down to 230 as well. So this belt is 230. Then, we split it into 2, which is 115, 115. Then we split... Okay, now here's... We just have to trust that this is a proper 1 to 5 splitter, right? So we have 230. This side splits into 3, but one of them goes back. This side would split into 3, but we're just ignoring that and keeping it stable. So this is a 1 to 5 splitter, which does its whole thing, and we get 230 divided by 5 is 46. 46 that way, 184 that way. Alright. I'm pretty sure we got that, so let's get these in. So you are 46. You are 184. Okay. So that's that. We have our 46. Now we take 46. Was it divided by 3? Yes. So we then split this into 3. Like so. And we take 1 out to do something with. The other 2 merge up here to be an extra 30 some, I guess. Alright, then we can merge these two together. This is where we're doing some creative stuff. So those two merge together, and that they are going to be greater than 180. Maybe some weird number. Then, from that batch, which is greater than 180, we're going to take out 120, and we're going to take out 60, and be left with a little bit left. So, can we just copy paste that? Yes. So those settings work. And then we just get those along. And then this little extra bit can come around here, merge up with whatever didn't go into there. So you merge up there, you go there. And then you can all be the 93 point whatever that goes into that. And then we just have a merger here, which combines that 120 with that 60 to make 180 with this 15 point whatever to get 195.333. All right, so that is that. Now, I think we set the outputs up to a sync so that they can be trusted to be stable. And so we're going to have them just like up on the same floor, because this floor down here theoretically shouldn't exist. It's just necessary for all of that mess. Alright, so then this, we should get a couple more signs in. So you are 15.333. You are 120. And you are 60. And then this all adds up to 195.3. Alright, so we have that. Now we go up here, and we take you out, and then we have that as well. So now we set up the sinks for the output. So you get a sink, and you get a sink. There we go, and there we go. Alright, then those all get powered up, attached to a power line, and maybe functional. Alright, so now we just have to do this 1 to 5 splitter here to get this output in, because I hadn't done that just yet. So you go in, don't do balancing stuff, just get plopped in normally. And then you go in there. Let's upgrade all of these guys so that they're going to be fast enough. Okay, then we send the belts in to the refineries. Alright, so this side is a bit... I mean, it's a lot more messy than this side, because this side's mess is entirely concealed underground, but that's because this side actually has the space to deal with the mess, so that's fine. Alright, so next step is we just have to put the pipes in for the fuel. Should be easy enough. So this goes all the way along here, and then doesn't need to go any further because those are the other ones. So now all of these guys get pipes and inputs. So you all go down into those. Cool. Then we just have to get the same thing over on this side. So we get a pipe which goes across this way and into the machines. Alright, there we go, and there we go. Okay, so the there is a potential problem with this design, which is that if there are shortages, which there shouldn't be, but there obviously always might be, then the priority in all of this is sending things to the outputs, which means that if there are shortages, the plastic and rubber going to these machines will run out, and that will cascade a little bit. Alright, I mean, that's only a problem if we mess up, basically. So let's just not do that. Alright, so that is all connected up. And that's the pipe. So now we get these power poles in. And we just have to connect them all up. There we go. Get the rest of them. And then let them fill up with fuel for a little bit. Let's see, where's another power line? Back there. Alright, so now those are all active. And we can let them fill up with their fuel until this stuff potentially has a problem. The polymer resin is getting converted into rubber over here. I wonder if that's a solution to the potential sticking. So if that's rubber, right, and this is rubber. So if we just like... is that a good idea? Is that a good idea? No, because that would change the total rubber output, and it would actually make it a lot easier, probably, because it would reduce the 0.333. Probably could have thought of that, but oh well. So this is 29.667 rubber output. And this is doing its whole fuel thing. So let's just get this attached up. Let's get this attached up to a sink. I do want to see about using this to fill the buffer over there, because that would insulate it against crashes, which is very helpful. Alright, so we have this. Now, what we can do is we can have this on a smart splitter where it can go like in here, just like back to one of these, and then overflow. Yeah, so basically what I'm thinking is like one of these has got to be at a point where it's fully saturated all the time, right? Maybe not. Okay, let me think. I need to... Okay. No, I know how to do this. It's pretty straightforward. Okay, so we just have to send it in to back here as a priority, and then overflow to the other one. I think maybe. Yeah, I don't know if that'll work, but it should at least work to get the system booted, and then we'll see if it works to give the correct numbers like continually over time. But alright, we actually want the smart splitter up here, and then an extra row like that. And this can all be a Mark 1 belt, right? Because it's like 30-ish. Alright, so then this comes down and around this way, and then into there. Alright, so now we connect that. and it's just gonna send the rubber down, and there might not be enough in here to actually properly get this all booted up. We'll have to see, because the heavy oil residue might backlog and prevent the polymer resin till it starts. Alright, so let's think about this for a second. If we change this from a regular merger to a priority merger with priority, medium, center. Okay, so the problem here is that this is going to put more rubber into this system than it needs. Because that extra 30 or slightly less than 30 is going to be going into here at all times, which would mess with the balancing. Because, I mean, that would still get the right amount, but this 93.111 would end up an extra 30. Which I definitely do not want that to happen. Okay, also wait, this doesn't even work. This doesn't even work to begin with, because that's just going to send it through this system, and like 99.9% of it is going to wind up in the sink. Alright, yeah, no, we're not doing that. What I need, actually, is for it to be, like, hot wired into this somehow. Yeah, so that's what I can do. So we're gonna have to take all that out, put a merger in, and send you back there. Then make sure you're all correct. Alright, then this one goes into that as well. And then we just need to get this functional again. Alright, well, so that, I assume, would be the belt. Yeah, so that's the belt which would go in here. So I actually want this to be facing this way. And then you just go in like that, and that's fine. Alright, this belt doesn't need to exist. It leads from nowhere to nowhere. Alright, so we have that. Now we set this to left any... Actually, if we set this to left overflow, that would work, right? So if the rubber output is backlogged, then one reason that might be the case is because we have a brick somewhere else in the factory. And so sending overflow to here might cause that. It wouldn't be quick, though. How much is going up here? 93 point something? We can't do that easily. Alright, we just have to make that connection. And we should be good. And this should also make sure that we don't have too much heavy oil residue. So now, because currently none of these are really running because the heavy oil residue is backing up. Now we should be getting rubber going. This should be draining fuel, which should get the heavy oil residue going, and the whole thing should start kicking into gear. And then once the factory is going, this belt won't do anything because all the rubber will be going elsewhere, and this should be fine. Yeah, it should be fine. Just to make sure, though, we'll make this a priority merger with priority from the center. Alright, so this is now making our plastic. And I actually think... Well, let's see. I think we need these to be off for now. Maybe? I don't know. Let's keep them on and see what happens. I don't think it'll work, but it might. I want to see if this can get warmed up on its own. Because if this can get warmed up on its own from scratch, then that is a proof of concept for this being a stable configuration. But I think what'll happen... Oh, I don't even have these set to the right numbers. Okay, so what I think will happen is that it'll just get stuck shoveling everything into the sink. Alright, so we need to figure out the total amount of plastic produced is 186.222, and we have 4 machines for that. So this is 186.222 divided by 4. So we just paste across and done. Then the total amount of rubber is 93.111 plus what? Plus 195.333. 288.444 divided by 5. 288.444 divided by 5 is, yeah, I mean, just barely over. There we go. So those are all set. And now we just wait to see if these warm up or not. I think they won't. I'm not optimistic at all about this. So this almost got up to full rubber. So what we need to see is we need to see these machines running around the clock. Because if they're running around the clock, then the amount of plastic they output will be correct. And then the amount of plastic they receive in turn will also be correct. So that worked. We just had a cycle where it functioned, but I mean, this cycle looks awful. Like we actually just haven't received a single plastic all cycle. Alright, and is that because this failed? Yes, it is. Alright, well, we'll see if we had enough there. We might need some sort of something in order to make this work better, because now that they're only getting like 20-some rubber, it's like half of what they were approximately, and it looks much worse than that. Yeah, so this is abysmal output, which means that we are not getting anything done anywhere. So the lack of polymer resin is caused by this heavy oil residue. Okay. I think this probably would work if it were stable, but it isn't stable, and I don't think it can get to that point. Although, I mean, these are doing pretty good. They're doing pretty good. They could be doing a lot worse, that's for sure. So what I need is a way to, like, store up a bunch of rubber and boot this all at once, but I don't think that you can do that using, like, the stuff that you have available in this game. I mean, it's going to some extent, but I imagine it'll taper off. I imagine that it will soon give up. Alright, is there any way that I can make a priority? Is there any way I can do this the other way around so that the priority is the inputs and not the outputs? Because if I did that, then it would work. And that would be like 93.111 rubber and 144.222 plastic is what I would need to balance. Neither of those seem terribly workable. So 93.111 would be like 60 plus 33.111, or probably better would be 80 plus 13 times 9 is 118. That's not useful. I guess 118 is doable. Divided by 9 would be that. Divided by 8 would be that. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Yeah, this number just does not divide by anything, does it? All right. Yeah, that's not great. So 118 divided by 2 is 59, which I think is just prime. So yeah, we can't do that. So yeah, I don't know how else to do this. I might have to just come up with something. Because I obviously can. Like, it's possible. It just requires ridiculously complicated balancing to get those numbers. And then 144.222, I don't even know. What is this? Okay, it's... what is it? It's it's like 2/9. So yeah, this is just 2/9, which is also awful for balancing. So I might just have to come up with brute force numbers for those, because these are not running at 100%. Or I might just get it booted and then accept that it needs to be running at 100%, and any slight disruption just murders it. Because the thing is, right, if even one of these gets down to like 98%, then the output, then the amount going into the others decreases. And that causes more of them to be at lower percentage, and then more of them to decrease. So they have to be running at literally 100%, literally 100% of the time, with no gaps at all, otherwise it stops, which is not, otherwise the entire thing just bricks and stops permanently, and I have to manually restart it, which I definitely don't want to do. I definitely do not want to do that. It's unfortunate, but I think I am going to have to tear out this balancing and then just work out how to do the other stuff. So, let's see here. 3.1 repeating times 9 is 28. Wait, these numbers are all awful. I mean, I just have to get... There's got to be some way. There's got to be some way, but like the numbers all are miserable. Like they're all too off of whatever I would want it to be, basically. I don't know. I'll probably just think of something between this stream and next. Like, this idea would be cool if I could at all count on it working, but it's connected to a train network, so I definitely can't count on it working 100% of the time. Speaking of which, the aluminum is good to go. Cool. So yeah, we need We need to figure out just like the most miserable load balancing setups of my life. We could do manifolds, but I don't want to do manifolds. I want to do as awful as these load balancing setups are going to be. It's going to be really satisfying to have them. Like, the more ridiculous it is, the cooler it is, and the more fun it is to ultimately puzzle through and build it. So we're going to do that next stream, I guess. Just going to have to figure out those terrible numbers and then figure out where to go from there. So, thanks everyone for hanging out. Had a lot of fun. We first streamed back from the New Year's, and really we didn't stream much since Christmas either, but we should be back to normal schedule now for the foreseeable future. So, if you're interested in watching, I play various factory building games, currently alternating between Satisfactory and Factorio. So I'll be doing Factorio tomorrow. I do that on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 2 to 5 Eastern Time. And I have Satisfactory on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 2 to 5 Eastern Time. So make sure to stop by for whatever you're interested in next. And follow if you haven't already so that you know when I'm live. And that is about it. Thanks for hanging out. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.